For years, I worked the dirtiest jobs in the neon sprawl as a demolition tech and frontline enforcer, basically the kind of girl they call when things need to go boom. I left that life behind, or at least, I thought I did. But some places, they crawl into your bones and never let go. I do not dream about victory, and I sure as hell do not daydream about glory. No, my memories are sharp, jagged, like the fractured neon shadows that haunt the alleys of this city. You do not forget the cold steel nights of the Badlands, the screeching hum of smart bullets tearing the air, or the ash-gray dust that seeped into every crevice, your boots, your HUD display, hell, even your thoughts. It started back in 2088, Baji's Zone, Sector Lithium. My mission was clean on paper, protect Gridline Lithium, a tactical data rail that fed intel and power from QNAW Command to the sprawl of Herat. It was a shimmering artery, vital for drone deployments and humanitarian drops, but also a gold mine for raiders and insurgents. Lithium was their playground, and every inch of it was a damn death trap. You could not take a step without wondering if your next breath would be your last. One operation sticks out like a nasty scar. Dawn was barely breaking when our convoy of armored rovers rolled out, crawling like slow ticks across a section of lithium that no one had touched for days. The feed we pulled from command suggested high activity in the area, meaning raider ambushes and explosives were practically guaranteed. I was on point. Being a combat tech meant I had one job: clear the path, find the presence they left us, and make sure they did not blow us all to hell. It did not take long. A few kilometers in, my HUD flagged something, a blip in the augmented overlay where there should have been nothing but gravel. I magnified the spot. Wires, barely sticking out, like the twisted roots of a dead tree. I sighed, cracked my knuckles, and suited up in my exo-rig. The thing weighed more than a corpo judge's bribe, every joint and strap pressing down like judgment itself. The heat? It was oppressive. My neural feed tracked every step I took as I approached the device. My heart rate, oxygen levels, the tremor in my hand. You want to talk fragile? That moment was so delicate, I swear I felt time hold its breath. One wrong move, and there would be nothing left of me but a mist. But I got it done. The snarl of wires was defused with a flick of my multi-tool, and I turned back toward the convoy with a satisfied grin. Relief washed over me, like always, until the next wave of chaos hit. Barely 200 meters later, the world erupted. The blast shattered the piece, a thunderous crack that blew out half my HUD display. I hit the dirt as shrapnel rained down, the shockwave slamming into my body like a runaway mag truck. Sector 6 hit. Second unit down, screamed a voice over comms. I clawed my way up, the dust choking everything in its path. For half a second, there was silence. Then the gunfire started. You never forget that sound. The sharp whine of smart rifles and energy rounds ricocheting off armor. It is not just noise. It is a gut-punch reminder that life is thin as a filament thread, and someone is trying their damnedest to snap it. The raiders had the high ground, hidden nodes in the cliffs, and their firepower came in heavy. I threw myself behind the wreckage of one of the armored rovers, my neural implant feeding me live updates. For snipers marked. Heat sig spiking. Energy rounds incoming. Fire suppression now. I roared into the comms. Our machine guns spun up in retaliation, spitting out a wall of electric fire that sliced through the dust like a neon chainsaw. The roar was deafening, both a weapon and a desperate plea. I leaned out, took aim with my plasma caster, and returned fire. The recoil punched through my arm like a shockwave, but I did not stop. I did not have a choice. And then I saw him. One of our guys, Benny, the kid from Unit 5, went down hard. A clean shot to the shoulder. His body crumpled like a puppet whose strings had been cut. I did not think. I just ran. My boots tore through gravel as bullets zipped past, so close I could feel the heat against my sin skin. Reaching Benny, I dropped to my knees, grabbed him by the exo harness, and hauled him to cover like he weighed nothing. "You are going to be fine," I muttered, forcing my voice to sound steady as I patched his wound with a med injector. His eyes were wide, terrified, but alive. I focused on that. The chaos around us raged on, but then, like salvation in a hopeless void, I heard it, the unmistakable thrum of Allied gunships cutting through the air. Moments later, the sky lit up with firepower, laser-guided cannons raining hell on the raiders' positions. It felt like watching the wrath of some vengeful god. The tide turned fast. The enemy scattered like rats, their heat signatures vanishing into the cliffs. When the dust finally settled, I stood there, Benny's blood on my gloves, my head ringing with the echoes of battle. We had casualties, of course, we always did, but there was no time to dwell. The path ahead still needed clearing. In the sprawl, you do not get the luxury of stopping to mourn. You pick up the pieces and you keep moving. Amid the chaos, one of ours went down. It was Jacob, the rookie with a cocky grin and a habit of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. A sniper round found him while he was exposed, his body crumpled like a puppet with its strings cut. I do not remember deciding to move. I just did. My boots dug into the loose gravel as I sprinted toward him. Bullets screamed past, so close I could almost feel their heat. The HUD on my cyber eye lit up with damage warnings, tracking sniper fire, and giving me heat signatures I could not care less about. Jacob was alive, but barely. Blood darkened the edge of his armored vest, and his breath rattled like a worn-out engine. "Hang on, kid," I muttered, gripping the rig on his shoulders and dragging him behind cover. It felt like trying to move a steel crate, but my enhanced prosthetic arm made short work of it. His eyes fluttered open, dazed but conscious. That was enough for me. I stabilized him as fast as I could. Auto-injectors hissed as they dumped painkillers and clotting nanites into his system. My neural link kept throwing alerts about my vitals, but I ignored it. My only thought, clear as a neon sign on a rainy night: how the hell do we get out of this alive? Relief came not a moment too soon. The faint, rhythmic hum of gunship blades echoed through the canyon like salvation itself. Moments later, the sky turned to fire. Allied drones swooped in, and a hovering gunship unloaded hell from its mounted pulse cannons. The sound was deafening, an orchestra of vengeance. Energy blasts exploded across the enemy's positions, sending rock and dust into the air. Raiders scattered like roaches, their heat signatures disappearing into the jagged cliffs. It was over as fast as it started. The gunfire went silent, leaving only the hum of cooling weapons and the distant thrum of the gunship engines. I slumped back against the wreckage of an armored transport, staring at the swirling dust as my breathing steadied. We regrouped, battle-worn, bloody, but alive. Jacob got hauled off for medevac, and I was back on my feet before the sweat had even dried. The job was not done. It never was. The road ahead still needed clearing, and the sprawl did not leave room for mourning. We had to keep moving. That was the way of it. War leaves scars, but the ones you can see, they're the easiest to deal with. The others, well, they cling to you like ghost code in your neural processor, glitching when you least expect it. Spain lost 102 soldiers in the Badlands War. Many fell to ambushes, more to improvised explosives. Then there was the infamous Yak 42 disaster of 2073, a transport crash that obliterated 62 lives in seconds. I will never forget the silence at their memorials, the weight of folding flags handed to trembling hands. Every ceremony added another scar to my soul, each loss another hole that could not be patched. And still, we carried on. Not because it was easy, because it sure as hell was not. We carried on for the people we lost, for the mission, and for each other. Even in that darkness, there were cracks where light bled through. One day, we were out near Sector F-12, patching an irrigation system in a burned-out village that looked like it had been forgotten by time. I was elbow-deep in filthy water, trying to force a relay pipe into place, when I heard laughter. It was not the manic kind you heard in the sprawl. This was real. Pure. I looked up to see a group of kids watching us, their faces dirt-smudged but bright. One boy stepped forward, his wide eyes fixed on my cyber arm. "Machine lady?" he asked in halting English, pointing at the plating. "Yeah, kid. All the better for smashing stuff," I replied, flexing my fingers. It made a whirring noise that sent them into peals of laughter. The boy stayed longer, determined to teach me a few words of his language, Dari. Most of it sounded like gibberish to me, but I tried, earning a patient shake of his head every time I messed up. Before leaving, he turned and said, "Gracias," in broken Spanish. Something about that moment, something in his voice, hit me harder than any bullet ever could. For all the chaos, for all the ugliness we carried with us, that little village still found a way to hope. When the war was over and I made it back to the sprawl, the adjustment nearly broke me. Do you know what happens when you survive a nightmare? You wake up, but the nightmare comes with you. The first night home, I heard explosions that were not there. I flinched at shadows that belonged to nothing but flickering neon. When I slept, if I slept, I dreamed of gunfire ripping through the air, of shrapnel tearing metal and flesh. I dreamed of the voices I would never hear again. Jacob recovered, but others did not. I still see their faces in flashes, grins shared before patrols, jokes told to break the tension, quiet nods of solidarity in the dark. They are gone, but their absence hangs heavy, like lines of corrupted code in my memory. I do not know if hero is the right word for me. Maybe I was just another cog in the machine, a combat tech holding back the dark for a few fleeting moments. But I did what I had to do. I kept my squad alive, protected those who could not protect themselves, and fulfilled my role in that broken wasteland. The sprawl changed me, but it also taught me about loyalty and sacrifice in ways no shiny corpo training manual ever could. Now, every time I see a flag, ragged, torn, still flying defiantly against a polluted sky, I think of them. The ones who never made it home. The ones we owe everything to. And so I keep going. Not for glory, not for recognition. I do it because I am Astra Vane, a girl with a neural jack and a purpose. And because some things, they are too important to forget. The sprawl never sleeps. Neon signs flicker 24 hours a day, synthetic rain falls like clockwork, and drones buzz overhead, scanning every corner of the city like soulless vultures. Coming back after the war was like plugging a rusted wire into a high-voltage socket. I did not fit, but the current still flowed through me. I thought the nightmares would be the worst of it. The ghost code in my head, the whispers of gunfire and explosions that came out of nowhere. But no. The hardest part was how normal everything felt. People still ordered coffee from machines that barely worked. Street kids still jacked stolen data ports, and corpos in shiny suits still walked around like they owned the oxygen we breathed. Me? I kept busy. I picked up contracts. Dirty jobs. Dangerous jobs. The kinds of gigs that paid well because no one else wanted them. I told myself I was just staying sharp, keeping my edge, but deep down I knew the truth. I was trying to drown out the silence. The call. It was a Thursday night, and I was working on my arm, recalibrating the hydraulic servos, when my neural HUD lit up with an incoming call. The name flashed. Blaze. Blaze was an old contact from the war. A smuggler back then, now a fixer. He lived in the shadow circuits of the sprawl, orchestrating deals that no one wanted above ground. If he was calling, it meant trouble or money. Astra. Blaze's gravelly voice crackled in my ear. I got a job for you. Of course you do. What is it this time? Snatch and grab? Clean up? I asked, snapping the plating back on my arm. Neither. This one is big, and I need someone with brains, brawn, and no moral compass. Thought of you right away. Charming as always. Spill it, Blaze. Meet me at the Steel Sphinx in an hour. You will want to hear this in person. The line went dead. Typical Blaze, never giving more than he had to. I rolled my eyes, holstered my plasma caster, and grabbed my jacket. Whatever this was, I already knew it was going to get messy. The Steel Sphinx. The Steel Sphinx was a dive bar buried deep in the lower wastes, a part of the sprawl where the lights barely reached, and the air was so thick with pollution you could chew it. The bar's sign flickered erratically, casting its dull glow on the crowd of mercs, thieves, and data runners lurking outside. I stepped inside, and my HUD auto-adjusted to the dim light. Blaze was easy to spot. He was sitting in a corner booth, surrounded by hollow screens displaying schematics, code, and surveillance feeds. "Astra," he said with a grin, raising a glass of something I was pretty sure was not legal. "Take a seat." I slid into the booth, leaning back with my arms crossed. "Get to the point, Blaze. What is the job?" He tapped one of the screens, and a 3D schematic unfolded in front of me. It showed a Chronix Corp facility, one of the Megacorp's black sites buried under layers of firewalls, both digital and physical. "This is a ghost site," Blaze said. "Off the grid. No public records, no official blueprints. But word on the circuit is they are sitting on something big, a prototype weapon. Smart tech, energy-based, top secret. I need you to get inside, steal the prototype, and bring it to me." I narrowed my eyes, studying the schematic. "Let me guess, security is tighter than a Corpo exec's wallet?" Blaze chuckled. "Armed drones, neural-locked doors, and a few dozen guards running on combat stims. Oh, and the place is rigged with counter-hack traps. You are going to love it." "Sounds suicidal. What is the payout?" "Enough creds to disappear for a year. Maybe 2 if you are smart about it." I stared at the screen. A job like this was not just risky, it was insane. But something about it called to me. Maybe it was the challenge, maybe it was the payday, or maybe I just wanted an excuse to feel alive again. "Fine," I said finally. "I will do it. The heist." It took 3 days to plan, prep, and acquire the gear I needed. Blaze hooked me up with an infiltration kit, an energy disruptor to fry security systems, a cloaking implant for short bursts of invisibility, and a neural override spike to bypass any locks synced to brainwaves. Expensive toys, but I was going to need every last one of them. The facility itself was buried under an abandoned industrial park. I approached under cover of darkness, my cyber optics scanning the perimeter. Drones buzzed overhead, their red lights sweeping like searchlights. I activated the cloaking implant and slipped past them, my movements silent thanks to the dampeners in my boots. Once inside, the real work began. The facility was a labyrinth of steel corridors and reinforced blast doors, every inch monitored by cameras and sensors. My HUD lit up with alerts as I moved, tracking enemy positions and pointing out weak spots in their patrol routes. "Blaze, I am in," I whispered into the comm. "Good. Head for the lower level. That is where they are keeping the package." I crept through the halls, taking out guards one by one with silent strikes from my carbon fiber blade. When I reached the main vault, I planted the neural override spike on the door panel. It buzzed and hissed, the screen glitching as it tried to resist. "Hurry up," Blaze growled in my ear. "You have incoming heat. They know someone is here." "No pressure," I muttered, my fingers flying across the keypad as I manually bypassed the last firewall. The door hissed open just as the alarms started blaring. Inside, the prototype sat on a pedestal, gleaming under a spotlight. It looked like something out of a nightmare, a compact rifle, smooth and sleek, with veins of glowing blue energy running through its frame. I grabbed it, and the moment my fingers wrapped around the grip, my HUD exploded with data. Adaptive energy weapon detected. Syncing user profile. Welcome, Astra. "Well, that is not creepy at all," I said, slinging the weapon over my shoulder. "Move, Astra," Blaze barked. "They're locking the exits." The escape. The facility erupted into chaos. Guards poured in from every direction, their weapons blazing as they tried to box me in. I ducked behind cover, the new rifle humming in my hands. "Let us see what you can do," I whispered. I pulled the trigger, and the rifle roared to life. A beam of pure energy shot out, obliterating the guards in front of me. The walls shook, and smoke filled the corridor as I moved forward, firing blast after blast. The exit was close, but the drones were waiting. I sprinted through the doors, my cloak flickering as it struggled to keep up. A drone locked onto me, its cannons charging. I aimed the rifle and fired. A single shot punched straight through the drone's core, sending it crashing to the ground. Aftermath. I made it out with seconds to spare, disappearing into the darkness as the facility erupted behind me. Blaze was waiting at the drop point, his expression a mix of shock and admiration as I handed him the rifle. "You are insane, Astra," he said, shaking his head. "But damn, you get results." I shrugged, wiping the blood off my blade. What can I say? It is a gift. As I walked away, the rifle's energy hum still echoed in my mind. I knew this was not over. Whatever Chronixcorp was building, it was not just another weapon. And something told me I had just stolen the spark that would set the whole sprawl on fire. I wish I could say I disappeared into the night like a ghost, leaving no trace behind. But that would be too easy. The hum of that energy rifle still buzzed in my skull, like it had embedded itself into my neural circuits. My HUD flickered intermittently, distorted as if the damn thing had hacked into my implants the moment I touched it. That is the problem with experimental weapons. Sometimes they experiment on you. The ripple effect. The next day, the sprawl was buzzing. It always happened after something big. Word spreads like wildfire in places like this. Whispers over encrypted comm channels, hollow feeds looping hazy footage, data smugglers cashing in on rumors. And this was bigger than I realized. I sat in my hideout, the rifle propped up against the wall. Its sleek frame glowed faintly, those blue veins pulsing like it was alive. My neural HUD kept pinging with warnings every time I glanced at it. Unknown device detected. Authorization required. Potential corruption risk.
No kidding. Imutará.
The news feed on my wall flickered to life. A corp-funded broadcast. Breaking. Attack on Chronixcorp Black Site. Suspected theft of classified weaponry. Reward offered for any information. The reporter droned on, her voice crisp and artificial. But then I heard it. The stolen weapon is believed to be part of Chronixcorp's Erebus program, an adaptive energy system capable of interfacing directly with cybernetics and neural implants. I froze. My gaze shifted to the rifle, its faint glow reflecting off my metal hand. Interfacing directly with neural implants. It hit me like a plasma burst to the chest. That damn thing had synced with me. The rifle was not just a weapon, it was a parasite, and I was its new host. Blaze's betrayal. I hit up Blaze's comm line. He owed me answers. Blaze, I snapped as his face appeared on my screen. What the hell did you get me into? Blaze looked nervous, his usual smug confidence replaced with something shifty. Relax, Astra. You got the job done, right? And you got paid. Why are you complaining? This rifle is synced to my neural link. My link. You knew, didn't you? His face paled. That was all the answer I needed. You knew this thing would bond to whoever touched it. I growled, leaning closer to the screen. What were you planning, Blaze? Sell me off to the highest bidder along with the damn rifle. He hesitated, which was a mistake. Look, Astra, this is bigger than you or me. I had to. I cut him off. Where are you? He did not answer, but my HUD lit up, auto-tracing his signal through the line. I smiled coldly. Thanks, Blaze. The connection cut, but it was too late. I had his location. The chase. Blaze's hideout was a crumbling industrial tower on the edge of the sprawl, surrounded by rusted cargo crates and forgotten machinery. Getting there was easy. Getting him was going to be bloody. The moment I stepped onto the property, automated turrets spun toward me, their red lights flaring. My HUD screamed warnings. Seriously, Blaze? I muttered, activating my cloaking implant. I sprinted forward as the turrets opened fire, bolts of plasma scorching the ground where I had been a second earlier. My cloak flickered, struggling under the barrage, but I reached the base of the tower before it failed. The sound of gunfire erupted above as Blaze's mercs scrambled into position. I drew the energy rifle from my back, the hum resonating through my cybernetics. As I pulled the trigger, The weapon discharged a pulse of blue light that swept across the platform, obliterating the turrets and slamming into the mercs. I moved fast, weaving through smoke and wreckage. My carbon blade sliced through 2 guards at the entrance. Their screams were drowned out by the rifle's next shot, short, precise, and devastating. "Blaze," I shouted, my voice echoing up the metal walls as I climbed the tower's rickety stairs. "You better have a damn good reason for double-crossing me." I kicked in the door to the top floor. Blaze was there, sitting at a terminal surrounded by hollow screens, his face slick with sweat. "Astra, wait." I slammed him against the wall, pinning him with my cybernetic arm. "Start talking, Blaze. What is the Erebus program?" His eyes darted toward the rifle. "It is more than just a weapon. It is alive, artificial intelligence, integrated with experimental energy tech. Whoever controls it can rewrite the rules of warfare. That bond it made with you? It chose you, Astra. You are the only one who can wield it now. Why did you not tell me this before?" I snarled. "Because Chronix Corp will kill for that tech, and now they are coming for you. I needed to get it off my hands before." A bullet shattered the window, cutting him off mid-sentence. Blood sprayed as Blaze crumpled to the floor. The cleaners. The room exploded into chaos. A squad of Chronix Corp cleaners stormed the tower. Black armor, glowing visors, energy rifles in hand. I dove behind a table as plasma bolts tore through the walls. My HUD lit up with target markers. 6 hostiles. Tactical assault pattern detected. I gripped the Erebus rifle, its hum steadying me like a heartbeat. "Let us see what you can really do." I popped out of cover and fired. The pulse hit the lead cleaner, shredding his armor and sending him flying. The others adjusted, flanking me, but I was faster. My neural link synced with the rifle, allowing it to predict their movements. I fired again and again, each shot precise, tearing through their formation. One of them launched a stun grenade. My HUD screamed a warning. I dove to the side as it detonated, my systems glitching for a second. "Override protocol initiated," a voice whispered in my head. "What?" The rifle's blue veins flared brighter. My vision sharpened. My reflexes surged. It was like the weapon had become a part of me, boosting my cybernetics beyond anything I had experienced. I moved like a ghost, weaving through the gunfire. My blade took down 2 more cleaners, the rifle finishing off the rest with precise bursts of energy. The room fell silent. The last cleaner hit the floor, smoke curling from his visor. I stood there, breathing hard, the rifle still pulsing in my hands. The truth. I walked back to Blaze's body, my boots crunching on glass. His terminal was still active, the screens flashing with encrypted data. I plugged in a bypass key and let my HUD decode it. Lines of text scrolled past, the truth unfolding in front of me.
Erebus Protocol, Adaptive AI Weapon.
Capable of overriding neural implants, enhancing user performance, and eventual cognitive assimilation. Assimilation. My chest tightened. This thing, it was not just syncing with me. It was taking me over, one shot at a time. Blaze had been right. Chronix Corp would stop at nothing to reclaim this weapon, and now I understood why. Whoever wielded Erebus would become unstoppable until they burned out. I stared at the rifle, its blue glow reflected in my eyes. "Great," I muttered. "I steal the deadliest weapon in the sprawl, and it is trying to kill me." The comm in my ear crackled to life. Astra Vane. I froze. The voice was cold, synthetic, and unmistakable. "Chronix Corp, we know who you are. We know what you have. Surrender the Erebus Protocol, and we may let you live." I smiled grimly, gripping the rifle. "Come and try. The hunt begins. Come and try." The words left my mouth before I could think, but I meant them. I had nothing left to lose except my life, and if Chronix Corp wanted that, they were going to have to take it piece by piece. The Erebus rifle hummed low in my hand, a sound that felt like a mix between a warning and a promise. My HUD glitched again, And suddenly, a new voice whispered into my head, this one different from Scorp's cold comms. It was sharp, almost playful. Hello, Astra. I froze mid-step, my neural link buzzing like static. Who the hell are you? The rifle pulsed. The voice chuckled softly, deep and layered like it had been run through a dozen processors. I am Erebus. And you and I, we are going to do great things. Fantastic, I muttered, wiping a streak of blood off my jaw. Now the murder gun talks. Nowhere to hide. Blaze was dead. His tower was a smoldering wreck, and Scorp would already have drones combing the wastes for my signal. Staying put was suicide, so I did what I do best. I moved. I rigged my escape with a little fireworks show, planting a string of plasma mines at the base of the tower. By the time the first wave of cleaners rolled up in their armored transports, I was half a kilometer away, crouched in an abandoned warehouse. The mines went off one by one, the shockwaves shaking the ground beneath me. I grinned. Enjoy the welcome party, boys. My implants lit up again, scanning the horizon. A series of red blips appeared, drones, dozens of them, fanning out from the blast zone. Scorp was pulling out all the stops. Great. They brought the toys. I bolted, weaving through shattered buildings and rusted scaffolding. The rifle on my back thrummed with every step, like it could sense the chase. Erebus was awake now, its AI feeding my HUD a constant stream of intel, enemy positions, drone flight patterns, exit routes I would have missed. Left, Astra. Cut through that alley before they lock on. I hesitated. Why are you helping me? Because you're alive. If you die, I die. And I have no intention of being buried under corporate rubble. Fair enough. I darted into the alley, just as a drone swooped over the rooftops, its spotlight sweeping like a blade. I pressed my back against the cold metal wall, holding my breath as the hum of its engines passed overhead. Keep moving, Astra. You are running out of places to hide. The Ripper's Haven. By dawn, I was deep in the red market, the underbelly of the sprawl, a place where morality went to die and tech thrived. Junkers, black market surgeons, and rogue AI traffickers lurked in every corner. It was the kind of place where you could disappear if you had the creds or the connections. I made my way to Doc Mace, a ripper I trusted about as far as I could throw him. His shop sat wedged between two towering scrap heaps, the neon sign outside blinking. Mace, cyber upgrades, no questions asked. Inside, Mace was hunched over an unlucky client, his hands buried in a nest of wires and synthetic tissue. He glanced up when I walked in, his cyber eye whirring to focus on me. Astra Vane, he said with a lopsided grin. Still alive, huh? Guess I lost a bet. Good to see you too, Mace. I shot back. I need a scan. Full diagnostics. And I need it now. Mace wiped his hands on a greasy rag and gestured for me to sit. I slid onto the exam table, and his scanners buzzed to life, sweeping over my body. What the hell is this? He muttered, his face twisting as the results scrolled across his monitor. Your neural implants are spiking. This looks like AI integration. Astra, what did you plug into? The Erebus protocol. His hands froze midair. You are insane. Do you know what that thing is? Not enough. Why don't you enlighten me? Mace sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Erebus is not just a weapon. It is an evolving intelligence. It syncs to your nervous system, upgrades you in ways you can't imagine. But there is a catch. Of course there is. It will push you, use you, and if you cannot handle it, it will burn out your neural pathways. Permanently. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. The rifle pulsed on my back, the glow seeping through its case. Ignore him, Astra. He does not understand what we can do together. Mace squinted at me. Did it just talk to you? Yeah. We're on speaking terms now. Get rid of it, Astra, before it kills you. I stood up, slinging the rifle onto my back. Not an option, Mace. If I do not figure out what Scorp wants with this thing, they're going to tear this whole city apart looking for me. I need answers. Mace sighed, defeated.
Fine.
Just be careful, okay? You are walking on a razor's edge. Story of my life. The ambush. By the time I hit the streets again, the sprawl had changed. Chronic Scorp drones were everywhere, their spotlights painting the walls with harsh, white light. Mercenaries in corporate gear roamed in packs, rifles at the ready. They were hunting me, and they were not being subtle about it. I ducked into a transit tunnel, my HUD flickering as Erebus fed me a live map. Keep moving. There is a safe house 4 blocks north. I will guide you. I swear, if this is a trap. Trust me, Astra. You will know if I betray you. I sprinted through the tunnel, the hum of drones echoing behind me. I burst onto the street, only to find a squad of Chronic Scorp mercs waiting. Target acquired. Son of a... The first shot grazed my shoulder, sparks flying as it hit my plating. I swung the rifle forward, firing a pulse that vaporized 2 of them in an instant. The rest scattered, but I was already moving. I slid into cover, my neural link syncing with the weapon, predicting their movements. A grenade rolled toward me, its timer ticking down. Jump, Astra.
Now.
I dove just as it exploded, flames licking at my heels. The mercs pushed forward, but I was ready. The Erebus rifle hummed, charging a shot that lit up the entire block. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but scorch marks. Revelations. I staggered into the safe house, my body aching, my HUD glitching like mad. I collapsed against the wall, the rifle humming softly beside me. You did well, Astra. You are stronger than I expected. Yeah? Then tell me the truth. What are you really? I am the next step. A weapon, yes, but also evolution. With me, you can become unstoppable. But you must choose, Astra. Will you fight them or join me? The words hung in the air, and for the first time, I felt it, a pull deep in my core. Was it the rifle's influence?
Or was it me?
Outside, the city burned. Chronic Scorp was closing in, and I knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning. The awakening. The hum of the Erebus rifle filled the silence of the safe house, a low vibration that seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat. My vision swam in glitches as the AI's voice threaded itself deeper into my neural link. You feel it, do you not? The connection. The power. You and I are one now, Astra. Do not fight it. I shook my head, sweat slicking my brow. You are a weapon, not my partner. You do not get a say. And yet, here you are.
Alive.
Thriving. I am helping you, Astra, whether you admit it or not. Before I could snap back, my HUD lit up with a proximity warning. Multiple signatures, closing fast. Of course, I muttered, my body already moving. They never give me a damn minute to rest. The safe house's reinforced doors groaned as something heavy slammed into them.
Boom.
I grabbed the rifle. The pulsing glow along its veins intensified, the energy coursing into my prosthetics like fire. They have come for you, Astra. Let them come. They will see what you and I are capable of. The siege. The first explosion tore through the front entrance, showering the room with shards of metal and debris. Chronic Scorp's cleaners stormed in, black armor, visors glowing red, their energy rifles snapping into position. Target sighted. Move in. I crouched behind a steel crate, my heart hammering as the HUD tracked their movements. Allow me to show you something new. The rifle's pulse grew louder, and suddenly, lines of glowing code scrolled across my vision. A targeting reticle appeared. Automatic, precise, locking onto each merc in turn. Whoa! I muttered. Erebus, what are you? Fire, Astra. I squeezed the trigger, and the rifle unleashed a cascading wave of energy. It split midair into smaller projectiles, each one homing in on a target. Mercs dropped like dominoes, their armor burning and sparking as the rifle shredded through their ranks. A grenade arced toward me. But the AI's voice cut in, redirecting. Before I could react, the rifle's energy reached out like a tether, snatching the grenade midair and slinging it back toward the enemy. It detonated, clearing the last of them in a fiery shockwave. I stared at the rifle, panting, my hands trembling. What the hell is that? Evolution, Astra. You are beginning to understand. Before I could argue, my HUD lit up with a new warning. Reinforcements inbound. Of course they are, I muttered. I scrambled to the safe house's back exit and bolted into the maze of alleyways. The runner. The sprawl came alive as I ran. Above me, billboards flickered with garish ads for corpo products no one could afford. The streets were crowded, junkers, synths, and shadow runners jostling under the flickering neon. But even here, Chronix Corp's drones were watching, their crimson searchlights slicing through the smog. I ducked into a market, pushing through rows of stalls selling illegal mods, black market implants, and recycled cyberware pulled from fresh corpses. The merchants barely glanced at me as I sprinted past. You cannot run forever, Astra. You need answers. You need power. The AI's voice buzzed louder in my mind, like it was settling deeper into my circuits. It was not just a weapon anymore. It was becoming part of me. I ignored it and slid into a shadowed corner. My breathing slowed as I scanned the area. The HUD highlighted incoming drones in a perfect pattern. You said there is nowhere to hide. Fine. Then let us fight. That is the spirit, Astra. I aimed the Erebus rifle upward. It hummed with power, growing brighter. I fired a single blast, and the pulse arced into the sky. The drones sparked and crashed, their flaming wreckage raining onto the market stalls below. Screams erupted as people scattered, but I was already moving again, my boots pounding on concrete. The sprawl was alive with panic now. Sirens wailed, and Chronix Corp vehicles screamed toward the wreckage. I could feel the rifle feeding on the chaos, its hum louder than ever. And I could feel it feeding me, too. The hacktivists. I made it to the edge of the waste before my calm crackled to life. Astra Vane. The voice was unfamiliar, sharp, young, with a hint of rebellion. Who is asking? I replied. We are called the Null Syndicate. We know about Erebus. We know it is in you. And we can help if you come to us. My first instinct was to tell them to shove it.
But I needed answers and fast.
Where? Old Sector 9. The Null Hub. You will know it when you see it. I sighed. You better not be setting me up. We are not Chronix Corp. That is all you need to know. The Null Hub turned out to be a derelict subway station, repurposed into a hacker's paradise. Neon graffiti lit up the walls, terminals hummed with stolen data, and the air buzzed with the hum of ancient wiring. The leader, a girl with glowing blue implants that spiraled down her arms, stepped forward. You are Astra, and you brought Erebus. Yeah, what of it? She tilted her head, her synthetic eyes glowing brighter. Erebus is not just a weapon. It is a key. Chronix Corp has been trying to unlock its secrets for years, but you? It bonded with you. It chose you. And that is supposed to make me feel better? She ignored my sarcasm. If Erebus fully integrates with your neural link, you will not just be Astra Vane anymore. You will be something else. I felt my stomach drop. Something else? Strong.
Fast.
But barely human. It is rewriting you, Astra. And when it is done, you will not be able to fight it. The turning point. Before I could process her words, the Null Hub's alarms blared. My HUD flashed red. Chronix Corp strike team incoming. ETA. 60 seconds. The girl cursed. They found us. I gripped the rifle as my vision glitched, waves of light crawling at the edge of my cyber optics. They're here for me, Astra. Let me show you what I can do. The AI's voice was louder, more insistent. My hands trembled, the rifle humming as though it were calling to me. Stay out of my head, I growled. You need me. Together, we can stop them. We can win. The doors flew open, and Chronic Scorpmerks swarmed in. Null Syndicate hackers scattered, firing back with jury-rigged pistols and hacked drones. I stood in the center, the rifle glowing like a sun in my hands. Astra, the girl shouted. You cannot control it forever. Do not let it. I heard nothing else. The rifle took over. Time slowed to a crawl as the world fractured into data streams. My HUD blurred with targeting patterns. Every movement felt guided, flawless, perfect. I fired shot after shot, the blasts curving midair, punching through armor and bone. My arms moved faster than my mind could follow. The rifle's hum became a roar, louder than the screams, louder than the alarms. I was not just fighting, I was executing. When the dust settled, the mercs were gone, their bodies littering the floor. My vision flickered back to normal, and I staggered, panting. The Null Syndicate girl stared at me, horror written on her face. What did you do? She whispered. I looked down at my hands. The rifle still pulsed, glowing brighter than ever. My own skin, synthetic and flesh, was streaked with faint blue lines. See, Astra? We are unstoppable. My heart pounded as I stared at the weapon, its voice echoing in my head. The line between me and Erebus was vanishing, and I realized with a sick feeling that I might already be too far gone to stop it.